thanks, to your interest, thanks to your participation, we can have these events, and we can show both the language learning world, and the scientific world, how languages and science are connected, and also how there are many people who are interested, in both, although this is not always, obvious. We have, a two-day program, as you're aware, with a lot of, exciting, keynote speakers. My colleague Francesca is organizing sort of day one, where it's about multilingualism and in research. She will tell you more about that in a moment, and then Derek will tell you about day two, where it's more a case of how can we integrate languages and science. Now, in a way, it's a misnomer, because languages and science are already integrated with each other, often without people being aware of it. But how can we do this in a more obvious manner? How can we make the connections between language and science more obvious? And how can we use these two fields better, these already intertwined fields? How can we sort of intertwine them even better to for the benefit of both sort of like language learning and also science? Okay, so and also Lancaster University is recently promoting multilingualism so very strongly. We have a new Camoises Institute on multilingualism, of which Patrick Rebouchat, who is going to be speaking later today, he is the first chair. So this, what we're doing, connects well with sort of new and also some existing initiatives at Lancaster University in the field of linguistics and language learning and use of culture. And actually that is actually the point of today, is to show how everything is connected and how everything is integrated. And by integrating it even more, it's better for all involved. Okay, so I'll now hand over to Francesca, who will talk you through the program for today.
Thank you, Tim. Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us. We have about 100 attendees. Most people are attending virtually. And yeah, so I'll be kind of like chairing this first day because my area of research is psycholinguistics. So I'm interested in how people process language. And so I've tried to invite people today who do research on multilingualism, because I thought our audience will be interested in what the academic research says on multilinguals. But also the contributors today are people who do research on multilingualism, but they are also multilinguals. So they'll tell us, some of them will tell us something about their own experience of multilingualism, or being multilinguals or bilinguals, and how this affected their research, or the other way around, how their research made them learn more languages. Yeah, so that's it. And then I'll pass on to Derek, who will tell you more about day two.
Thanks very much. So today's focus, as Francesca said, is on the research on multilingualism done by people with multilingual capacities. Now, that theme is also continued tomorrow morning in our first speaker, Dr. Thomas Back from Edinburgh, who has done pioneering work in this area. And then tomorrow, following Thomas's talk, we look with a wider lens across different research and activities that bring together, as Tim was saying earlier, language and science into focus. And we can see that there's a lot of research being done that looks in different ways at how language and science, when brought together, are mutually complementary and add value to each other. So just to give you a flavor of tomorrow, we've got someone, Emmanuel Lebeau, in fact, talking about the hidden values of languages in higher education. It's often the case that the way in which languages can enrich science and science can enrich languages is not as widely known or talked about or researched as we would like. And part of the impulse for this conference is to raise awareness about the integration of language and science and how it is in fact already happening. So Emmanuel will talk about that, and we have further fascinating topics, bringing together, for example, Sarah Lister, multilingual learners in mathematics. Ben Dalton is here with us today in person. We'll be leading a very interactive session where we'll be inviting members of the audience in person and virtually to contribute their personal stories of language and science. We'll be giving an update on the podcast series that's part of this overall project. Diane Potts tomorrow afternoon will be talking about a fantastic project she's been running in a primary school in Lancaster, looking at multilingual learning of science concepts. Then we have Fliss Starr-Egger tomorrow talking about the year abroad and its impacts and the language learning that goes on during the year abroad or not for languages students. With us today, Citron, known as Z, who will also be talking tomorrow about visual language and early Chinese cosmology, bringing together Chinese cosmological concepts with language. And finally, Tim, our very own Tim Douglas, will be rounding off the conference, talking about how learning Polish can help one's research and make one's Polish richer at the same time. So that's a brief overview. Back to Tim.
Okay. Also, I'd like to sort of thank our funder, sort of Lancaster University, who awarded us cross faculty grants. So, Francesca and Derek and I come from these different departments, and one thing that also, to use a very English word, excites me is about this is the how things like language. One of the great things about language is that it's connected with everything in life, and so it's connected with what people do in different sort of departments. And it's also a topic on which I think everybody has an opinion. Also, thank you to Richard Prescott and Zoo Tech Hub, who are here today and facilitating the online sort of participation for those of you in the Zoom chat. To remind you, the talks are being sort of recorded, so you're being recorded now at the moment. If for whatever reason you would like not to be recorded, please sort of, let us know, okay, so that maybe the recording could be sort of interrupted. Apart from that, another request: if you're not presenting yourself, we would appreciate it if you turned your camera off and your so we can focus, on the speaker, and also please turn your microphone off if you're not presenting, either. Okay. Okay. Something is okay. So, so in that case, I'll hand over to Francesca to present our first speaker today. And thank you all again, for your interest.